Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Rant. This one's going to be up a little late because I had to take a little while after Raw was over to calm down because it sucked again. Anyways, Monday Night Raw, February 3rd, 2014, from Omaha, Nebraska. The show starts, Randy Orton's music hits, and he comes out to hardly any reaction from the crowd. And he gets in the ring and he starts talking, and I really can't be bothered to try and remember what the hell he said. It doesn't matter. There was a massive CM Punk chant, and you're going to hear me say that so many times during this because CM Punk was the main chant that they chanted every chance they got, basically, during this show. But anyways, Randy, I guess, probably doing more bitching about the fucking Elimination Chamber match, and then King of Kings hits, and out comes Triple H and Stephanie. And they come out onto the stage, and there's another CM Punk chant. And then Stephanie talks, and then Triple H talks. And the basic gist of it is, over the next couple of weeks leading up to the pay-per-view, Randy is going to be taking on all of his opponents for the Elimination Chamber match in singles matches. And tonight, in the main event of the show, Randy's first match is going to be against Daniel Bryan. And they also happen to say something about if Bryan manages to win tonight, they might have to rethink, who they've put their faith into as the face of the company. Right, like that's gonna change anything. So that segment peters off. It actually didn't take anywhere near as long as the stupid opening promo segment normally does. Thank God for that. It didn't help much, though. After that, we get a recap of the tag title change from the Royal Rumble kickoff. And they say that because of Brock Lesnar's interference in the rematch from last week on Raw, we're having another rematch between the Rhodeses and the Outlaws tonight, and that'll be in a steel cage match. However, it's going to be contested under special rules. No escape. Which means getting out of the cage doesn't mean anything. You can't win that way. You can only win by pin or submission. After that, the Shield music hits and the three of them come out and get in the ring. And we get another recap, this time of last week's main event, and the Wyatts, of course, costing the Shield the spots in the Elimination Chamber match. And then we get another recap from SmackDown. I don't know what this one was of. I can't remember. Since I never watched SmackDown, whatever. Trying to think. What was it? I think the Wyatts did something. Maybe they cut a promo or something. Who really cares? Anyways, after that recap, they cut to a commercial. And when they come back, Rey Mysterio is in the middle of his entrance. He's still up on the stage doing his pyro things and whatever. And when he gets down to the ring, they show that Big E Langston and Kofi Kingston are already there by the ring waiting on Rey. So the two of them got jobber entranced, and Rey's the only one who actually got an entrance. But yeah, this is the first of two 6-man tag team matches that we get tonight. This is The Shield versus Big E Langston, Kofi Kingston, and Rey Mysterio. The match turned out to be decent. There was an interesting spot. Let's see. Rollins was in there with Rey. And Rey jumped up on Rollins' shoulders to go for a Hurricane Rana or something. And Rollins held him. And Reigns came in, hit the ropes, and clotheslined Rey as Rollins power bombs him. Looked pretty cool. After that, there was another commercial break. And when we come back, I'm trying to remember what happened exactly. Oh, right. Reigns was in there with Big E. And I think what happened was Big E hit the ropes and did his big avalanche splash thing, just ran over Reigns. But as he hit it, he came down with the toe of his boot, I think, right into Reigns' face. And so the camera looks down, and there's this big splotch of blood on Reigns' face from his eye area. So he got cut open pretty nasty there. Reigns manages to hit the Superman punch on Big E, and then Reigns backs into his own corner, and Ambrose blind tags himself in. And I think he grabbed Big E and hit the headlock driver. I'm not sure, but he hit something on Big E and he got the win. And so Reigns was like, what the hell, what'd you steal the win from me for? And Rollins comes in and he's like, everybody just chill, whatever. They're not actually talking on the mic or anything, but, they're just arguing amongst themselves. And then, of course, the blackout, the Wyatt cut. And it cuts up to the Titantron where the Wyatts are on the screen. And first Bray talks, whatever the fuck. And then Harper actually talks, again. And when he stops talking, he starts whistling. And then Rowan kind of leans over, still with his stupid sheep mask on, and he just says, run. And that's it. Cut away. And then we hype up the Randy Orton versus Daniel Bryan main event match, and we cut to another commercial. When we come back from the commercial, Barrett's music is playing, and of course he's up on his stupid podium, and I change the channel again. But I came back only after a few seconds, because I was just trying to check and see if it was over. But when I change it back, there's Jerry Lawler yelling at Barrett. He's like telling him to shut up or whatever. And he said, next week I hope you're gone. Don't know what in the fuck that was all about. Just nice to see somebody tell Barrett to shut the hell up. But anyways, from Lawler's interruption, the commentators segue into another video package showcasing the new network that's launching in like 3 weeks. And then after that, they say that sometime tonight we're going to hear from Batista about who he wants to face at WrestleMania. Like anybody gives a shit who he wants to face. You know who I'd like to see Batista face? A wood chipper. Christian's music hits and he comes out. And then there's another commercial break. And when we come back, Jack Swagger's already in the ring. And there's Zeb Coulter and Antonio Cesaro on the outside of the ring. And so, of course, we get a rematch from SmackDown, Christian versus Swagger, which turns out to be decent. but there wasn't really that much of note from the match. Christian wins with a sunset flip out of the corner. It was basically like a counter. But still, Swagger loses to basically what amounts to a cheap roll-up. But Christian wins, and Zeb's pissed, of course. And I noticed that Swagger's bleeding from the mouth. So that's 2 blood spots now. After that, we get a recap from last week of Brock Lesnar attacking Cody and Goldust. And of course they explain that's why we're having the cage match, which is going to be next. Then the Outlaws music hits, and the two of them come out to no reaction up until they start doing their stupid shtick. Who gives a fuck? And then the Cody and Goldust music hits, and they come out. And before the match starts, we get another commercial break. And when they come back from this commercial break, the commentators inform us that next week on Raw, we're going to be doing another guest star spot, show, or whatever the fuck. And our guest star, Betty White. What the fuck? Why Betty White, of all people? Anyways, after that, cutting back to the ring, we get the big title match introductions, and then we get our cage match, which was basically boring. And here's the other stupid thing. This is a steel cage match, and yet they're still kind of contesting this under normal tag team rules. You still have to tag in and out. Which is stupid as hell, because most of the time in cage matches, especially tag team cage matches, it's usually under tornado rules. Which means everybody in the ring fighting at the same time. But no, for some reason, no. They're tagging in and out for this one. Who gives a fuck? There's another CM Punk chant. And then there was a We Want Punk chant. And then the finish of the match, Cody, for some stupid reason, climbs up to the top of the cage. And he does a moonsault off the top of the cage. And he lands, he just barely hits Road Dogg with it. And Road Dogg wasn't even the legal guy. Gunn was. So of course, Cody barely hits the moonsault on Road Dogg. Billy gets Cody up, hits the Faymaster on him. Billy covers Cody, and he gets the win. So the Outlaws win and retain the titles. The match was pretty damn boring, and after the match, the crowd was dead again. And after the match, as the Outlaws leave, we get replays of the moonsault. Whatever the fuck. We get another hype thing for Batista coming up, and then more hype for the Orton versus Daniel Bryan match for the main event, and then we cut to another commercial. And when we come back from the commercial, we get hype for our second 6-man tag match, which is going to be the Wyatts, all 3 of them, versus R-Truth, Xavier Woods, and Dolph Ziggler. So Dolph is being wasted as a jobber to the Wyatts in a throwaway 6-man tag match. But anyways, cutting back to the ring, Zack Ryder's music is playing. And I'm thinking, holy shit, it's been a while since we've seen this tool. And then this new song hits, and I'm like, who the fuck is this? But then the camera cuts over to the stage, and out comes Titus O'Neil, the recently heel-turned Titus O'Neil, and this is his new heel music. And it sucks, by the way. And he also gets no reaction from the crowd, of course. He's a boring, generic hoss. And we get a recap from SmackDown of him turning on Darren Young and beating the shit out of him. Don't care. we get Ryder versus Titus. The match is shit. And the only real noteworthy thing about the match is that right towards the beginning, the match starts, and I see some guy in a suit walking by the ring going over towards the commentary, and then the camera cuts over, hey, it's The Miz. He grabs one of the headsets from the commentary table, and he basically starts bitching, like, what the hell is Zack Ryder doing on Raw and not me? What the fuck, like, who cares about Titus O'Neil? That kind of thing. And then he kind of throws down the headset and leaves. And then we get another CM Punk chant. And the finish of the match is Titus winning with his sky-high spine buster move. He hits that on Ryder and he gets the win. The crowd's dead again, of course, because nobody gives a shit about either one of these guys. We get more hype for Orton versus Bryan later on, and we cut to another commercial. And when we come back, Fandango is coming out with Summer Rae. And while he's coming out, they cut to a video package for Black History Month, since it is February, which is Black History Month. And the person they go over is the big cat Ernie Ladd. Anyways, after that, Santino comes out. And it's been a while since we've seen him. I don't know what the hell's been up with that. But he comes out and he talks. He says something about, Fandango, you don't want to be in a dance-off with me because I just learned these new moves and I would smoke you, whatever the fuck. So instead, how about your lovely chick, Summer Rae, how about she dance in a dance-off with somebody I pick from the audience? And that's when the camera looks over. There's Emma again, in the corner of the crowd over by, it's the one corner up by the top, by the ramp. So, she's over there in the corner of the crowd. And at that point, it's like, okay, so this is Emma's real debut. And she's basically getting the same debut that Santino got, being picked out of the crowd to do something. Yeah. So I saw her in the crowd, and Santino's like, how about you? And of course he goes right to Emma, and he's like, oh, hey, I know her. She's from NXT. No shit, retard. We know that. Get her ass in the ring and let's do this. This segment was balls, obviously. Fandango's music hits again, and Summer starts dancing, and she does her nice ballroom dancing, and it's actually, you know, fairly good ballroom dancing. And then Emma's crappy NXT music hits. And she starts stomping, like, her feet, and then she starts doing her stupid hand jive thing. And by the way, the crowd was absolutely dead while Emma was dancing. She gets no reaction whatsoever. And then Santino's like, okay, it's time for voting. How many people like Summer Rae? And there was boos, whatever, but there was a reaction. And then he goes, how about for Emma? And then the people actually cheered. And I'm like, what the fuck? You didn't react at all while she was dancing. Now you're going to cheer for her? Why? And so Santino's like, yeah, Emma wins. And the crowd don't give a fuck. Still no reaction. What the fuck? By the way, great debut, Emma. I hope you're really proud of that. You guys should have known that stupid hand jive dance of hers wouldn't work well on the big stage of Raw. Like, I keep hearing that she's a good wrestler. I've yet to see it. I won't judge her on that until we actually see her in a match. But this stupid hand jive dancing thing, it's retarded. It makes her look like an idiot. And again, going back to me on the message board that I post on, somebody said it's like supposed to be an endearing sort of goofball. It doesn't come off as that to me. It comes off as somebody who's fucking retarded. Whatever. commentators segue into network video number 2, which is a promo for the Legends House show that they're going to have on the network. Who cares? Sheamus' music hits and he comes out, and then they cut to another commercial. And when they come back, Curtis Axel's music hits, and he comes out with Ryback to no reaction. And before the match even starts, the fans start chanting Goldberg at Ryback. So they don't even give a shit about the two guys in the match. They're busy chanting at Ryback. There was even a Ryback sucks chant during the match. I don't remember exactly where, and I don't think it matters. Here's your highlights from this match. There was another CM Punk chant. Sheamus did his rope clubbing thing. Then there was another CM Punk chant. And then Sheamus hit the brogue kick on Axel and got the win. So Sheamus wins. Another boring match. Who gives a shit? We cut backstage to one of the hallways or whatever. There's Batista looking like a hobo again in his shitty, ugly clothes. He's going to come out next, and they cut to a commercial. When they come back, his music hits, and he comes out to hardly any fucking reaction. And before he can say anything, Alberto Del Rio's music hits, and he comes out to no reaction. And he starts talking to Batista, and Batista's like, dude, I don't know what the hell your deal is. I have no beef with you. And Del Rio's like, I'm gonna, beat you up, whatever the fuck. And again, Batista has to repeat, I don't know what your deal is. I don't have any problem with you. And so Del Rio smacks him upside the head and starts beating on him. And he beats Batista down a bit, and then he's standing there like a goof, taunting, whatever. Then he goes to hit the ropes, and I'm like, you fucking idiot. He bounces back, Batista kicks him in the stomach, goes for the Batista bomb, but Del Rio squirts out from under him, gets out of the ring, and runs away like a bitch. And they show a replay of this shit. And when the replay is done, Batista's still in the ring yelling at Del Rio to come back, and Del Rio's still standing on the stage looking like an idiot. And I'm like, why the fuck haven't you two schmucks left yet? This segment has killed enough time. Let's move on. Ugh. More hype for Orton versus Bryan. And then Ziggler's music hits and he comes out. He got a small pop because, the crowd was dead all night. They, whatever. And then R-Truth and Xavier Woods come out, and then they cut to another commercial. And when they came back from this commercial, they showed that Mark Henry, who was injured by Brock Lesnar, Mark Henry's returning next week. Who cares? Is he going to get beat up by Brock again? I still won't care. And I still won't care about Brock either. Finally, the Wyatts' music hits and the blackout and everything, and they come out. They didn't really get any reaction either. And so we get the match. Early in the match, I'm trying to think who it was. I think it was Truth was in the match, or maybe it was Woods. But one of them was in there, and then the fans started chanting, "We want Ziggler." Ziggler finally gets tagged in, and the crowd wakes up. Dolph went apeshit for a minute on Harper, I think, hit his drop kick on him. The big leaping spike DDT thing. And then again, stupidly, he goes for the zigzag while Harper was close to the rope, so it gets countered. And then Harper just ran Ziggler over with a big, discus clothesline. And then Harper tags in Bray, who gets in the ring. And he beat up Ziggler for a minute, did his stupid backbend pose in the corner. And then he grabs Ziggler, picks him up, cinches him up for the Sister Abigail, kisses the forehead, and plants him with it. And the crowd went dead. 1, 2, 3, match is over, Wyatts win. Crowd's dead. And so the Wyatts are standing there kind of celebrating. And then up there on the Titantron, there's the Shield. They cut a promo. And all three of them talk, and they basically get equal talking time. And all three of them basically sounded pretty good. But yeah, They were just talking about the Wyatts, about the match, yada yada. More hype for Orton versus Daniel Bryan at the main event, and commercial break again. And when we come back this time, there's Alexander Rusev. And he starts talking in Russian, I think. And then all of a sudden, there's some hot blonde honey. And I found out that this is Lana, who is his valet. We didn't see her at the Royal Rumble, but I guess he didn't really need her at the Rumble. She's basically his translator. Whatever. He says, something about his, path of destruction starts now. And I'm thinking, okay, so we're going to debut this guy and have him wrestle? No. Cutting back to the ring, there's the Funkadactyls, finishing their entrance. But it's only Naomi who's scheduled to go up against Oksana. And Oksana and Alicia Fox are already in the ring. And then AJ's music hits, and she comes out with Tamina. And she comes out and she goes over and gets on commentary. And the best part about this match was AJ talking during the whole match. So we have Naomi versus Oksana. It was a crap match, obviously. There was a botched spot. What happened was Naomi went for sunset flip. And Oksana's standing there, you know, trying to fight off going down from it. And then she just kind of kneels down and pops Naomi in the face with the point of her knee. And, yeah. Whatever, Naomi fought back. She got Oksana down, hits the split leg moonsault out of the corner, and gets the win with it. So at least she didn't do that god-awful rear view jumping butt to the face. But she hits the moonsault, she gets the win. Fox immediately jumps in the ring and attacks Naomi, but then in comes Cameron, and she gets in the ring and helps chase off both Oksana and Alicia Fox. And the crowd is dead, of course. And I think during the little tussle between the four of them, I think I heard that Naomi did hit the rear view, because I heard Cole go, and that's what she calls the rear view, and I'm like, yeah, that's what you said last week. You don't need to remind us again. Asshole. Yeah. Anyways, more hype for Orton and Daniel Bryan, which is going to be next, finally. And they cut to another commercial break. When they come back, Bryan's music hits and he comes out to the biggest pop of the night. And then Orton's music hits and he comes out to no reaction at all again. And then they cut to another commercial break. Yeah, they came back for 2 entrances and that was it, another commercial. And it's at this point I look at the clock and I realize they still have a half an hour left until 11 o'clock when the show is supposed to end. But then again, there's always the overrun, so it's actually more close to 40 minutes or so. Coming back from this commercial break, they announced that Orton's next opponent in facing all of his Elimination Chamber opponents is going to be Christian, and that's going to be on SmackDown this Friday. But coming back to the ring, we start the match, Bryan and Orton, and it turns out to be obviously the best match on the card. It was actually a fairly good match. They actually managed to put some good stuff in here. Psychology, ring work, storytelling, you know. At the start of the match, we got a Daniel Bryan chant, and a yes chant, and another CM Punk chant, and then another Daniel Bryan chant. And after that, Bryan goes outside the ring. He's got Orton down in the corner, and he starts wrapping Orton's leg around the corner post. He's trying to work on Orton's leg. And then he puts Randy's leg up around, he wraps it around the corner, and then he backs up, and he comes running and does a big drop kick on it against the post. So he's really trying to fuck up Randy's knee. Another Daniel Bryan chant. Back in the ring, Bryan does the Indian Deathlock. And then there was another CM Punk chant. And then back out on the outside of the ring, Randy gets thrown over the announce table and he lands on top of Michael Cole. And after that, there was a JBL chant. Back in the ring, Bryan locks in a half crab on Orton, and Orton has to go to the ropes to get a rope break. And then finally, Orton went out to the outside of the ring, and he was able to make a comeback against Bryan. He grabbed him and did the, belly-to-back suplex, dropping Bryan back first on the barricade. So, yeah. He starts doing that. Well, he did that, and then they go back in the ring, and they're fighting, and Randy's, got control. Bryan tries to do his comeback combo, but after bouncing off the ropes, which is where Bryan normally goes for the clothesline, Randy grabs him, power slam. So he stops the comeback combo. There was a commercial break after that, and when we came back, Bryan was in the middle of his repeating kicks. But then Bryan goes for the roundhouse, and Randy ducks it, and jumps up and grabs Bryan into the capture suplex. And when Bryan hits the mat, he screams out in pain and he grabs his arm, his shoulder, so his shoulder is apparently hurt. And then, Randy takes him out of the ring and rams Bryan shoulder first into the post, and then into the metal ring stairs. There's another Daniel Bryan chant. And from there, Orton starts working on Bryan's arm. Alright. They went up to the top rope and Randy went for a superplex, but Bryan fought him off. And then he jumps off and hits the big front missile drop kick. He hits that, but he lands on his arm, so he's still fucked up. Another Daniel Bryan chant. A little bit of a tussle before Bryan locks in the yes lock, but he's a little too close to the ropes and Randy's able to get a rope break. Randy gets up into the corner and Bryan starts doing the one after another corner drop kicks, but he gets two of them, and then he backs up and he goes for the third, and as he turns back, there's Randy who drop kicks Bryan in the face. And then Randy picks him up, slings him over the ropes, plants him with the rope DDT, and then he starts coiling for the RKO. But he jumps up and Bryan As Randy was jumping up for the RKO, Bryan just roundhouse kicked him in the head, basically. And that knocked Randy down. Bryan goes up to the top rope and he comes off with the big diving headbutt and he gets a 2 count. He starts doing the repeating chest kicks again, and this time he's able to connect with the roundhouse at the end of it. And after that, the camera cuts over towards the side of the ring, over by the ramp. The entrance ramp. And there's some guy in a suit who jumped up on the apron. And at first I'm thinking, why is Triple H interfering in this match? But then Bryan charges over and drop kicks the guy off the apron and he falls over, and as he's falling over I realize, that's Kane. Why the fuck is he interfering in this match? Him and Bryan were supposed to be friends. But anyways, slight distraction there. Randy thinks he's gonna capitalize off this, but Bryan grabs him and throws Randy out of the ring too. And then Bryan hits the ropes, suicide dives on top of both Kane and Orton. So he wipes the two of them out. And then he picks Kane up and throws him into the stairs. And then he throws Randy back into the ring and he goes back in after him. Randy goes for the RKO, but Bryan counters it. I can't remember exactly how. I think as Randy jumped up for it, Bryan just kind of slammed him down. And then Bryan goes into the corner, and as Randy's getting up, he charges, hits the big super knee on Randy. And he covers him 1, 2, 3, and Bryan gets the win. So Bryan wins in a pretty damn good match. Bryan's celebrating for a bit. And then there's Orton, who jumps back up on the apron. He had rolled out of the ring. He tries to get back in the ring. Bryan fights him off, but then there's Kane coming from the other side, and he attacks. And him and Orton are able to beat down Bryan for a minute. And then Kane picks Bryan up and chokeslams him. And then Kane does his, doing the arms up and then throwing him down for the pyro. And the pyro was fucking late by a second or two. But yeah, Kane's music starts playing and we get the red lights. And that's pretty much the end of the show. So, all in all, we got one good match and a bunch of other shit that didn't matter for nothing aside from the two little promos that just barely managed to forward the feud between the Shield and the Wyatts. Other than that, fucking nothing really happened. I couldn't even enjoy watching Zack Ryder get his ass kicked because it was fucking Titus O'Neil doing it. So yeah, Raw sucked again. The crowd was dead most of the time, but I can't blame them because there wasn't hardly shit going on to get them to do anything. You have to give us a reason to cheer. You have to give us something to be excited about. There was hardly anything like that. I mean, yeah, Ziggler came in at one point and the fans got behind that, but he only got squashed by Bray. Fuck that. So once again, a quick recap as always, the matches. The Shield defeating Biggie Langston, Kofi Kingston, and Rey Mysterio in a decent match. Christian defeating Jack Swagger in their rematch from their match from SmackDown, another decent match. The Outlaws defeating Cody Rhodes and Goldust in the rematch for the tag team titles inside the steel cage with no escape. Boring match that I didn't give a flying fuck about. Ryder getting squashed by Titus O'Neil. Shit match, who cares? Like I said, the most interesting thing about that match was Miz coming out and talking on commentary. And then we had another boring match of Sheamus beating the hell out of Curtis Axel. And then we had the Wyatts jobbing out Ziggler, Truth, and Xavier Woods. Naomi defeating Oksana in a crappy match. Where, again, the most interesting thing was AJ on commentary. And then we had the one good match of the night. Daniel Bryan finally managing to defeat Randy Orton, even with outside interference from Kane of all people. Seriously, I think it would have made more sense for Triple H to have done this. No, you know why they did it? Because Punk is gone, and now Kane has nobody to feud with. Who cares? Kane's supposed to be an authority figure. Authority figures aren't supposed to fucking have feuds. Why did Kane need to be shoehorned into this? Is he gonna start a feud with Daniel Bryan now? Why? Kane's not even supposed to be wrestling anymore. He's the fucking deputy or directing the he's whatever the fuck. He's some other corporate motherfucker. Director of operations. There it is. I finally spit that out. Sorry if I haven't been able to talk right. I've been drinking my special milkshake again because I kind of knew Raw was going to suck. So I mixed up my milkshake and I've been drinking it. This shit is driving me to drink. It's so bad. You see what this crap is doing to me? Fuck you, WWE. You insult my intelligence with this crappy show. Fuck you. Jesus Christ. Anyways, that was Monday Night Raw, February 3rd, 2014, from Omaha, Nebraska. It sucked. Raw sucked again. Yeah. Only good news, though, we didn't see John Cena at any point during this show. Thank God for that. We also didn't have to watch the Bellas, although we got the Funkadactyls, which is pretty much the same shit, only worse. Who else didn't we have to suffer through? Ryback. He didn't wrestle a match, but he was out there for Curtis Axel's match. And he got more of a reaction than Axel did. Like I said, the fans chanted Goldberg at him. They chanted Ryback sucks during the match. It's like, seriously. The fans don't give a fuck about Curtis Axel. Who else didn't we have to stomach? I can't believe we actually got Santino. Thank God he didn't wrestle, because that would have sucked. But no, instead we get a crappy dance-off between Summer and Emma, where Summer clearly danced better, because I don't think that stupid hand-jiving thing that Emma does even qualifies as a dance. We didn't see Brock Lesnar at all. Good news there. And yet the bad news is we still have to watch Barrett. I think that's why he's called Bad News Barrett now. Because every time he comes on, it's bad news for the viewer. Listening to him try to cut a fucking promo and... Hopefully, with Lawler having interrupted him, hopefully that leads to something happening with Barrett. Getting back in the ring. Possibly. Can we have him get in a match and have someone just beat the ever-loving shit out of him? That would be great. Can we have Ziggler, maybe, just beat the shit out of Barrett? I don't know. But anyways, that was Raw once again, as I said. February 3rd, 2014, Omaha, Nebraska. The show sucked. End of story. Join us next time on the Wrestling Rant. Probably sometime either tomorrow or Wednesday, when we will be going over the SmackDown spoilers. So, we'll see you then for that. So, see you then.